Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Peaceful Challenge. It's finally done. Over 500,000 blocks have been placed to complete the floor of the perimeter. So each color indicates the biome type the blocks are placed in. Let's actually quickly check it out. The freaking perimeter is so huge. Standing at one end, we can't even see the other end of the perimeter, even at random distance 24 that we have right now on the server. Usually we have 16, we're gonna adjust it again once we're done here. All the way over there, we got the different ocean biomes. Here's the mountain area. Here we also got an ocean. The white concrete area is gonna be the frozen ocean, where we can build the polar bear farm, and so on. Red was the tiger biome, we can build the fox farm. Green was the plains biome, we can build a horse farm. Then we got a forest biome there as well. Beach was for the turtles. So lots of different farms we can make here. Really looking forward to this. But we're not quite done. We already spent actually quite some hours on the perimeter floor, as you can imagine, placing over 500,000 blocks. We were streaming so much the last couple of days. Tab twice alone was probably streaming for 20 hours on a peaceful server, placing blocks. I probably also contributed like 15 or 20 hours. I think lots of miles were helping out on most days. So definitely over 60 man hours were spent on this, but definitely it's so worth it. But I'm not quite done yet with the perimeter decoration. If you look at the walls around, it's kind of, compared to the nice floor, you can't really keep it like that. So we already have plans for the perimeter walls, and Miles already finished the design for one of the four walls. The south wall is finished. Let's check it out. So we got a schematic we can load in. It's this one here. And look at that. Doesn't that look great? Miles did there. So the plan was to have hand-drawn pictures of some of the Minecraft mobs. Some of those obviously will be found here. So we got the turtle, fish, polar bear, llama, and the fox. There's just one of the walls. We still have a lot of room left for other of the mob types, so pigs, parrots, and so on. Yeah, they will be added later. Each of those was hand-drawn by Miles, by the way. Then converted with a program into basically Minecraft blocks. And some of those also had to be adjusted manually a little bit because the program in some cases was using materials that were too expensive and so on. And sometimes smaller mistakes were made by the program that had to be adjusted. But yeah, definitely it's going to be worth it. It's going to look so good. And then in the background, we can receive a lot of kelp blocks will be used. Good that we made the farm the last episode. And there's also a couple other blocks we need to use we don't have yet. So if we look at the material list, obviously most of it is dried kelp, over 50,000, no problem anymore with the new farm. But one of the issues I see is definitely mossy cobblestone and in general the mossy blocks. I think, there's also mossy stone bricks, so we would need 800 vines already to make all of those mossy stone types. So far we needed mossy stone a couple of times for decoration, but not in that scale. So usually it was only a handful. We grabbed a stack of vines, just going to a jungle biome, mining some of the vines there. It was usually enough, but it's probably time to actually build an AFK-able farm to get the vines. Apart from that, the rest seems like it's doable. Block of coal, we probably want to convert it into black concrete as well. Looks almost the same and it's a lot cheaper for us. So we don't have the ability to make a wizard skeleton farm for coal. You would need to hand mine it. Be a lot of effort. Then iron ore, probably have enough. Just mining some of the ores we find. Shouldn't be an issue. You can always go back to the tunnel bore area. Just mine some of the ore that was left over in the ground. Apart from that, we got most of the tree farms now. Stripped oak, warped stem, no problem. Mushroom stem, I think for this we're gonna do it manually, just growing some tall mushrooms and harvest those real quick. But we can probably also make an automatic farm for this. It would be quite interesting. But for now, I think this would be a lot of effort. We should do it manually and just maybe put it on the to-do list that we actually make a mushroom stem from. That would be quite interesting. I want to see that. Okay, bookshelf. We can get leather from the Hoglin farm. Apart from that, this is just smaller amounts that we can in some cases just hand mine. I think there was even some clay blocks. We might need to go to a swamp to get those, but the rest seems doable. Redstone ore. Yeah, the rest should be doable. Okay, but yeah, let's work on that AFK vine farm so we can finally build the mossy stone types without worrying about the materials. Alright, let's make a vine farming creative. Shouldn't be too hard, but let's start with some basics first. So first we actually need to know that the designated tool or intended tool for the vines is the axe. But it's a bit stupid if you use the axe on the vines in survival. It wouldn't drop any item. But you can see a difference. You can actually insta-mine vines if you have, for example, a efficiency 5 diamond axe. But even if there's silk touch on it, you wouldn't get any items. So you actually need to use a tool that's not intended, just the shears. Then it does drop items. But since the shears are not the intended tool for the vines, putting efficiency, for example, on the shears wouldn't help you at all. So do I still have the command? If I use efficiency 5 shears, would break the vines with the exact same speed, since it's just not the intended tool. There's nothing I can do to speed this up. You can't insta-mine vines. So this is definitely one of the downsides when it comes to the vine farm, which also slows it down quite a lot. Okay, let's go. Vine farm. Actually made one of those on Psycraft before, during 1.8. So about 5 years ago, we had an AFK vine farm for a while, the end dimension on Psycraft, and it looked like this. So we had soul sand and water above. The player was pushed forward in the water stream. Back then, the soul sand actually slowed the player down. We also obviously didn't have any bubble columns, and that's actually still the case. So if it went for the bubble water, it's a bit annoying, but you can probably get around by placing some kind of waterlogged block in there. Let's maybe try sign. Okay, so we shouldn't have any bubble water anymore. Then let's go back to survival, see if this is still working. So we could mine for, oh, the random tick speed is a bit high. Set it to normal again. So we could stand in the water and mine 4 of the vines in a row. 1, 2, 3... 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't quite reach the one at the very back anymore. It's a bit unfortunate. Back then we could actually mine 4 in a row. Now I also remember again what you can do differently to mine 4 in a row. You can just rearrange the vines so they grow on the other side of the block. So this way we have them directly here in front. Let's try that again. And hopefully we can get 4 in a row now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Basically, almost all the time we're mining here. It's almost the perfect speed. Can probably slightly improve it somehow, but it seems like, yeah, most of the time you're mining. This is one of the simplest setups. I think we're gonna go with this one here. Okay, that's basically it already when it comes to the AFK vine farm. We just need to scale this up. So vine takes, I'm not even sure how long it actually takes to grow, but usually around 30 to 40 minutes. So we would need to scale this up quite a lot. Make this probably like 100 blocks long. Then we change direction, go back and also mine for 100 blocks long. Then obviously the shears only have a durability, I think, of 238, if I remember right. Let's turn the tooltips on. Oh, it only shows if you actually use it up, I think. 238. Then, yeah, the shears are getting broken. Definitely wouldn't be worth it to enchant the shears. We just need to replenish just normal ones, which we can also auto-craft. Be quite convenient. We could maybe even add a little iron farm again to get to resupply our shears. So I'm not quite sure how we should do it. Back then in 1.8, actually every couple of blocks, I think every 8 blocks even, had a little station. So the player was flushed over a pressure plate, which triggered a dropper that tried to give shears to the player and replenish those every 8 blocks. Or something like that. Let's see if this is still working. If you even get flushed over the pressure plate, if that's what I mean. I think the speed might not be high enough anymore. How did we actually do this? Well, maybe the water was actually 1 block higher, and we had a sign there. And you got flushed this way. try around a little bit. Try and recreate this. Yeah, I think it might have looked like this. Let's see if this is still working. Okay, now I could put it in here, and then we could mine the vines again. Yeah, so something like this. I think an alternative would be, instead of having stations every 8 blocks, to put items into a water stream every 5 seconds or so. But the soul sand is the issue. So the items would get stuck in the water stream in 1/8 at least on any block this is different from soul sand. But this might no longer be a problem with the new item mechanics. That's unfortunate. Obviously, we would try to put an ice block here. Maybe they could like barely make it this way. Let's try it again. Oh, they got stuck there. Oh, but yeah, it seems like it made it. Seems like it made it. Put in a couple of different items. Let's see. It's reliable. Okay, they always get stuck, and then they get a bit of momentum again, which is just enough to flush them over. Then obviously we would have soul sand again. Let's actually try to have one more row of soul sand. And see if this works twice in a row. Then we can be pretty confident system is working. Okay, sign here again. Water. And the pressure plate is missing. Did we just waterlock that? No, they can't be waterlocked. Okay. Let's put in items again. Yeah, they made it. Here they're really slow, which is not that good, but they make it. Yeah. So we could use that instead. Instead of having a huge dropper hopper system and whatnot, we would just put shears into the water stream every 5 seconds or so, and the player, once the shears break, would then pick it up again and continue to mine the vines. Just one downside, if the player would pick up too many vines, the slot for the shears might also be filled up by those vines. There's a way to avoid it. You could put a lot of single vines in your inventory like this, and fill up those slots first before ever the other slot or the hotbar slot we used. We usually have the shears, so this might be something we want to do. It's also really yeah, doesn't happen often. They would actually pick up some of the vines that would be mined right in front here. Maybe ones that grow straight down could be picked up sometimes, but I think this is very unlikely to happen. And if you just fill up our inventory with single vines, we could probably AFK a whole 24 hours without it filling up. I think there might be a small chance here and there to pick up some vines, but yeah, it wouldn't be a big issue if you just do it like that. After a bit of experimenting, turns out things aren't quite as easy as they used to be. A change to the water mechanics that was done, I think, in 1.14 also makes it a bit harder. So on the top left, we can actually check how fast we're moving right now. It's 0.4 meters per second. And this change was actually made for the lower water layers. You don't move as fast in those anymore, and it gets slowed down quite a lot. So about 3 times slower than usual. And it's definitely something we need to work around. We don't want to be that slow. I was also trying out something else. I wanted to actually know how long it takes to mine vines. So I set up a little command block setup here where we can test it. So let's just do it. Takes exactly 12 ticks to mine vines. So that means the fastest possible farm would be 6,000 vines per hour. Well, with that information, we can maybe try to manipulate the speed or find like the perfect ratio between movement speed and mining speed, so we wouldn't waste any time not mining. So maybe with the problems with the lower water streams, might be also an option to be in faster water, so don't use the soul sand. Since we're moving at 1.4 meters per second there, if the water's high enough, and if it's a bit more shallow, then we're getting slowed down. Well, let's maybe do some math and see if we can find a good ratio. So doing the math, it turns out the soul sand setup is pretty much perfect. It takes 48.54 ticks to travel 1 block with the soul send setup, so we're traveling at 0.412 meters per second. So that means in those 48.54 ticks, we can mine pretty much exactly 4 vines, which would take 48 ticks. So almost no time is lost. If you would try use some kind of different speed, like for example, we travel at 1.4 meters per second on normal blocks, then we lose definitely some efficiency because it takes 12 ticks to mine some vines. We per block traveled, we got like 2.2 ticks that we can't really do anything useful with. But here's the problem. So in order to make sure that we always travel at the perfect speed, we could maybe do a setup like this with honey blocks, where we align the player against the honey. So if you watch the top left, we're always traveling at 0.42 meters per second, even here. We also have soul send there. So this would be perfect. But now we are too far away to actually mine 4 vines in a row. We could only mine 3. So at the moment I'm trying to find a setup that makes sure we always travel at the perfect speed without losing a lot of the reach. Not sure if this is even possible. Alright, so I got a very good solution. This is pretty much ideal. So we got a continuous water system that keeps the player at exactly the same type of speed. Let's hop in there. So I'm in survival mode. Let's start mining. So here we will get 4. Then next time we get 4 again. There's almost no time in between mining the next type of blocks. Okay, here we get 4 again. This is so good. And we get 4 again. This is almost perfect. So we just line the player here against the honey blocks. That's why the water over here is also affecting the player. It's pretty much perfect. So we have basically 5 white water, and then we just have 2 water here, and then 5 again. But we could probably also have 5 here, but I think it's a bit better with the honey blocks. And yeah, here we got hoppers to pick up the vines. Right, so this would almost be perfect, but I have another idea. I was talking with Methods earlier, and Ava was also in chat. Something I actually forgot. So you can't use efficiency on the shears, but there's another effect that you can apply to the player that will allow you to mine blocks faster. That is haste, of course. So in Peaceful we can't get haste 2, but we can get haste 1 with the conduit if we stand in water. Here we got water. So that problem would also be solved already. And I just want to do one quick test. I'm just going to give myself the haste 1 effect. Haste for 100 seconds. Haste 1 is always 0 in the command language. So we got normal haste 1 here. Okay, now let's mine the vines. Oh, we got some kind of double activation. It was kind of strange. 10 ticks. I tested this earlier, I actually got 11 ticks. Let's try. Maybe the 11 was actually wrong from earlier. Always good. Test stuff twice. Okay. Set the count to 0 again. And let's try this once more. I think this was normal. So it took 11 ticks to mine the 2 vines. Okay, so this is basically 1 tick faster than without haste. And then we could also mine the vines faster here. But obviously, if you would stay in the soul sand water, we basically would just mine this faster, but we couldn't really reach more vines in a row. So we could maybe try to adjust the travel speed once again. There's actually a trick you can use. Let's add mini hut in the top left again. If you're wearing depth strider 1, 2, or 3 boots, your speed in the water will also be adjusted. So in this case, so it's 0.412 meters per second. Let's actually use the depth strider 3. You can see the travel speed goes down. So we could play around with the speed a little bit. So we would need to travel a little bit faster than Soul Send, which is achievable if we actually use normal blocks again. Okay, so let's try it out. If we would have depth strider 1. We would travel at 0.984 meters per second. Depth strider 2 is 0.758. And depth strider 3 is a bit slower, 0.617. And it's actually the perfect speed to mine 3 vines. Actually, it's not true. It's not the super perfect speed, but it's good enough. So I'm gonna replace all of the soul sand here with normal blocks again, and then we try this out with Depth Strider 3 boots and haste 1. So let's try it again, this time with the haste effect, Depth Strider 3 boots on normal blocks. And we get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Most of the time we will get 3. Sometimes, unfortunately, travel speed is a bit too high and we only mine 2. As you can see, most of the time it actually works. Yeah, now we skipped 1. Rarely happens, so like every 8th or 9th block, we skip 1, but it's almost perfect. Now, it's just a question, is this better than soul sand and mining 4? So, one thing is already better is, we have a backup vine here in the back. If the vines are not all fully grown, then sometimes we could just, the chance is basically higher that 3 out of the 4 have grown than all 4 which are required. So that already should raise the rates a little bit. And I did the math. I mined the whole length of the vine farm here. And basically the ideal or the perfect rates would be around 6,400 vines per hour using this setup. With the soul sand setup, the perfect rates would be around 5,930. So in fact, despite not always mining 3, this setup would be superior, and especially considering that sometimes not all the vines have grown, and it's very likely that 3 out of the 4 have grown instead. So definitely this would be the better approach with the higher mining speed and using the conduit. So that's what I want to go with. So I got a somewhat big progress update. The farm is finished, at least the vine farm part of it. I might want to add an automatic crafting system to craft the vines and the stone into the mossy stone types as well, but this would be kind of separate. So the vine farm itself is working now. Let's check it out. So I added 10 modules in total. So we would go from right to left, and at the very end, this is about 128 blocks wide, since that's about the distance in which vines would grow at the other end. So at the very end here, getting right into honey, still mining vines here, and then we drop down. It's probably the fastest way to get to the next slice, so that's why I decided for that. And then we can almost immediately start mining again. Another option would be to have like a water stream that goes this way around the farm, and then here we would have the next vines, but it's a bit slow. At most, the player travels at 0.6 blocks per second using the Depth Strider boots in water. There's also other ways to transport the player, but they always struggle with being not really reliable. So I think just dropping down is quite efficient. Okay, then we go to the other side, and in total we got 10 modules, which we would zigzag through. After around 30 minutes, we would go to the start again. And after 30 minutes, a lot of the vines have regrown, but not all of them. So the farm would be even more efficient, but just slightly, if we would make it twice as large. The cycle time would be 1 hour, then almost all the vines would have regrown. But it's definitely, we need to keep the effort to reward ratio in mind here. The farm already is quite large, and will be some effort to build. I think I'm content with this. It's not about really having the fastest possible farm. We definitely need to keep in mind that we only have a limited amount of time to spend on this. Alright, so I already did some testing as well. We're getting 5,600 vines per hour, which is a really good result. I'm super happy with that. If you probably double up the size of the farm, we'll maybe get to 6,000 vines per hour, but it's already super good. So there was one more thing I want to show. We also have a system now to replenish the shears. So this is made for 2 modules at a time, so we don't basically have the shears going through the whole farm, just always 2 modules to keep the amount of item entities low. So the player would activate it by stepping on a pressure plate. Then here you got a storage of droppers. Every 2-3 seconds we would dispense some new shears, and it just travel in the water stream. As soon as the player here would break its shears, it's almost immediately a new one that he can pick up. At the very end, they also drop down, go the other way, and then they slide over this little gap here where the player actually drops down and into the hopper. And then they put back into the chest here. So since we have the auto crafting table, we can also automatically craft more shears. So basically got a hopper line that would resupply each of those chests here with shears. Obviously, it's completely backed up. It's the way we do this. Yeah, at the very top, I added the automatic shear crafting system. It's a bit more complex. And at the very top, we just have double chest full with iron blocks. Obviously, technically, we could again make an iron farm to also have that replenish at the same location. But if we put in a double chest of iron blocks, this will last basically forever. Way longer than we will use this farm. That's why I decided against it. Okay, so the player would also deactivate the system by stepping on this pressure plate. There we go. And now the clock also stops here. Alright, so this is ready to be built. I think we're gonna also stop the episode here. It was a lot of effort to design this, but I'm super happy with the result. So we've got a really efficient vine farm using the trick with the conduit, which by the way is at the bottom of the farm. So here we got the conduit. Yeah, I'm super happy with the result. So 5,600 vines per hour is really good. Okay, so next episode, we can maybe also design a little mossy stone block crafting system and then build it up in survival. That's it for today. Thanks guys for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.